Nostalgia can be a funny thing. We remember certain TV shows, video games, or movies in such high regards that no matter how many times people have criticised them over the years, we still end up loving it. Sadly though, the opposite is true in that regards, where some people go back to that same media and find that their opinions and tastes have changed so much that they end up hating that very same show, movies, or even video games that they grew up with. This can be true in regards to a little television series known as Power Rangers. You may have heard of them. Where some people who grew up with the show like myself ended up actually hating the series for various reasons, whether they be actual valid ones or not. Me on the other hand, I still love it. Love it to this day. Cheese and all.
Now, if you were born in the early 90s, then you probably remember the show as well as the other spin-off shows that nobody else remembers. With a few exceptions, of course. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was a massive success during its time, and it was no surprise that the series went on for 3 whole seasons. Until it finally changed when the series decided to switch up the costumes and use different Sentai footage instead of the original look. Oh, for those that don't know, Power Rangers uses footage from a show called Super Sentai in Japan, which is why a lot of the early footage looks different when putting them side by side. But regardless of that, Power Rangers continued to be a big success even during its lower ratings as the show went on. They just kept bouncing back. That is until 2023 when the last season of Power Rangers Cosmic Fury finished airing that we were informed that the series would be going through a reboot. Unfortunately, Hasbro and Netflix, who were developing this reboot, suddenly ended their partnership and now the series is stuck in limbo. Which is kind of sad when you think about it. But here's hoping that the series will eventually return one day. Hi, Future Whalley here. Well, this is embarrassing. Just to let you know, this wasn't intentional. I wrote this script ages back before the announcement came from Disney that they were bringing the show back. So throughout the video near towards the end, and of course as you just now heard at the beginning, and maybe a few scattered bits throughout the episode, that I do kind of give the impression that, you know, it's relatively unknown that the series will come back or not. So apologies for confusion there. I would have gone back and rewrote the script, but honestly, I had already recorded the voiceover lines when the announcement happened. So do forgive me for being lazy, but I cannot be bothered to go back and re-record everything. So I'm just leaving something here to kind of give you the impression that I am aware of the fact that Disney is bringing it back. And yeah, I'm not being ignorant. Enjoy the rest of the video, guys. However, we aren't here to talk about the TV show. Today we are here to discuss the video game based around the original series. Oh, not that one. Not that one either. Close, but still not that one. There we go, that's the one. Now, I know there are other titles and the already said video games based around the series that I could talk about, but if I'm being honest, I'm already working on another massive video featuring a number of video games based around another popular franchise, so yeah, not this time. Maybe one day, but not now.
Okay. I'll be honest, when I booted this game up, I really wasn't expecting all that much, but it was really good. I'm not even exaggerating when I say this. I had a blast playing through this game.
This game is an action-adventure side-scrolling beat-em-up with the occasional on-rail segments and has all the nostalgia of a classic arcade game, from its presentation, art style, sound effects, and many, many more. It's more or less doing what the latest Turtle game did in Shredder's Revenge, as that game was the spiritual successor to Turtles in Time. This game could technically be a spiritual successor to the original Super NES game. However, I haven't found anything from the developers to confirm this. So please correct me in the comments below if it's true or not. Getting back to the game, you have 2 options to play through the main story mode, and that's single player or multiplayer. So naturally, I picked the single player option. For reasons. Now, the game begins with an awesome animated recreation of the original opening to the show, and oh my god, it's really good. The animation is on point and everything stands out. Also, is Billy and Goldar doing a Dragon Ball Z fighting sequence? Holy shit! No complaints from me, plus the theme song is just as brilliant as it has ever been. As for the story of the game, we open up in the year 2023 AD. where of course we find the Rangers trying to stop Rita, as she's building a time machine to travel back to the past to help her past self destroy the Power Rangers once and for all. Now, keen-eyed viewers will notice that this is very similar to the plot of Once and Always. However, unlike that special and with no budget restrictions, Rita succeeds in her attempt and travels back to the past. Wait a minute. Does that mean that the kidnapped Power Rangers have lost their powers permanently? Huh. Questions for another time. Anyway, back in 1993, we can see that Zordon has detected that the timelines are changing and they need 5 barren and over-emotional humans to combat this. Which of course shows that we'll be going through an alternative take or a retelling of not only the first episode but other episodes too, as the first episode / level is titled Yesterday of the Dumpster, a callback to the first ever episode of the series. Nice. From there we pick our Power Ranger and go through 15 levels with many different enemies to fight, and this includes a good variety of putties, from the normal ones, heavy arms, chargers, tanks with 3 heads, Jesus Christ, and punk putties. Because of course! This was the 90s after all. This also shows how the timeline is messed up, as you also get to fight the Tenga Warriors, which only turned up in the 3rd season of Mighty Morphin, and also the original movie. Because if I didn't mention it, someone else will. Now with gameplay, it's pretty simple. You go around different levels beating up bad guys until you get to fight the final boss of that level. Each ranger has their own special move / finisher, however I noticed that while they do appear to use the same combos, their fighting styles are completely different. After all, if Zack wasn't using his hip hop Kido, fans would be livid. During these levels, the putties will bring out a time disruptor which you have to destroy as quickly as possible. Otherwise, it will explode and rewind time by a few seconds, meaning that all the enemies that you just beat come back and you need to fight them all over again. Oh! I think it's fair to say that the majority of you know who these guys are, and what I'm about to talk about know that they need no introduction. But for those that don't know who these guys are, you need to educate yourself at this very moment before you watch the video. Oh, what the fuck? What? That's a little too far back. Can we roll it back, please? There is also an on-railing shooting segment while on a very convenient multicolored roller coaster. I see what you did there, guys. They also have you riding around on their shark cycles to defeat tanks that have time crystals and the only boss of these segments, which is Krabby Cabby. How did I remember that name? It's been years since I've watched this show. Good God. Once you defeat the bosses of that level, you move on to quite possibly the best part of the game. You get to fight them in the Megazord. There are 2 segments to it. The first one is a Star Fox style gameplay where your Zord runs or flies towards the enemies while shooting them and other obstacles. Afterwards, we get this. God damn, that animation is smooth. Seriously, I did not know I needed to see a fantastic animation of the original Megazord combined in like this, but I'm glad it exists. The game then switches to a first-person perspective, and to be honest, there's nothing really special about this section, as all you're doing is dodging their attacks while punching them Star Platinum style. However, it's the presentation that really sells it here, as whenever you're hit by an attack, the camera pans back to the Rangers reacting in the cockpit like in the show, and also the animation, once again, being on point. Especially when finishing them off with the Power Sword. Once defeating the boss, the Rangers return to the Youth Center, which is this game's hub. Sadly, you can't walk around the whole center, but what you get is good enough. While we're here, I think it's a good time to point out how good the character sprites are. Each character being distinctly different from one another, and their animations while idle and walking are brilliant. In the said hub, you get to talk to Erd the bartender, the civilians that you save during the missions, and of course the legendary duo, Bulk and Skull, who when speaking to them, their popular theme music starts playing in the background.
I meant it what I said earlier when I wasn't expecting all that much from this game, but I was completely blown away by it. And if you're an old school fan like myself, then this game is definitely worth your time. Plus, you can tell that the developers are big fans of the show too, especially with the amount of references that you can find in each level.
Seriously, while roaming around the levels, if you look carefully enough, you'll find little secrets, and they're clear references to the show. Also, there's the odd little reference to other titles, like the Ninja Turtles in the Ooze right here, which is a small nod to the crossover episode from Power Rangers in Space, which also confirms that they do indeed share the same universe. Or at least, the next Mutation series is. I don't know if the main series is canon here or not, but since there's only 4 and not 5... Yeah, I'm going to say the main series is. Oh god, I lost my train of thoughts again, didn't I? I do also want to point out another little reference to the show, and it's a behind the scenes one. When battling both Chunky Chicken and Turkey Jerk, did you ever notice that they looked eerily similar? Well, that's because the Chunky Chicken costume would be repurposed into Turkey Jerk to be used in the second series of Mighty Morphin, and I think that's a great little nod towards the production team's efforts. The soundtrack is also really good, however I did find it a little lacking in some levels, as what we got is really strong and memorable, but I do feel like they reused the same tracks a little too often, and this led to me getting a little tired of hearing them. But I still want to emphasize that the soundtrack is really good, and I did end up playing a few of the songs in the background while writing this script. Once you finish with the beginning levels, the game falls into a nice little rhythm where you battle on familiar locations from the show, with them ending with a boss battle that features a villain of the week like Eye Guy, Bones, and Madam Woe, with the levels occasionally intersplicing some bike and Megazord levels for good measure.
But now we get to the meat of things. The reason that some people will actually pick up this title, and I had completely forgotten about his character being included in this game, and it really shows with my reaction.
Oh, that would have been a great run if I didn't die there. That was such a random one. It's the myth, the legend himself, Tommy Oliver has entered the fray. It's here, Evergreen. Oh my god, I'm playing as Trini again. Ah! Oh, the Green Ranger's Dragon Sword. Yeah. Oh god. Rita's Rewind tells a more simplified version of the Green with Evil arc from the show, and it was done brilliantly. The Rangers find Tommy already possessed by Rita, and we have to chase him on the rooftops, all the while the Dragon Sword is shooting at us from the background. The boss fight itself was probably the most challenging out of all the bosses, as at some points the guy just wouldn't let me catch a breath and kept hitting me with combos. Leave me alone, Tommy, my god, let me breathe! Afterwards, you engage in the Megazord sequence, which you more or less do the same thing. However, unlike the show, you instead fight the Dragon Zord in the ocean. Once you defeat him, you sadly don't unlock the Green Ranger, as that happens at the end of the game. Which kind of sucks, not gonna lie. However, we have no time to waste, as we are immediately teleported to Rita's palace to do one final level and defeat Robo Rita once and for all. Coincidentally, past Rita is nowhere to be seen, so it's just Robo Rita. Guess this whole event gave her a headache and she just went to lie down somewhere to rest. I don't blame her, honestly. After a rather challenging boss fight, Robo Rita is finally defeated, Tommy formally joins the group, and everything is back to normal. Or is it? Oh, I'll be surprised if there is a sequel in the works. Now, as mentioned earlier, after you complete the main game, the Green Ranger is finally unlocked as a playable character, and you can control his Zord during the chase segments. However, he's nowhere to be seen in the Megazord bits. Which, to be honest, is kind of a letdown.
Honestly, this game is really good, and I cannot recommend it enough. However, it's far from perfect, like any other title out there, and there are a few criticisms that I need to address.
Now, I've already mentioned my slight disappointment with the soundtrack, but I really do think a few more tunes here and there would have benefited the game more. Another problem I have is they didn't really utilize the time disruptors properly, as they could have done a lot more with its rewind in time capabilities as well as its time travel concept. For one idea, like it disrupting the timeline so much that the Rangers switch with future characters from future shows, or something along those lines. They could have added a few more variety with different levels and maybe done a little bit more with the Megazord chase sequences. Also, because the game is really short, I don't really see it being beneficial for replayability for single players. I mean, I beat this game in one sitting and it only took me under 3 hours to beat. However, I will point out that the game allows up to 6 players, so with a group of friends this game can be replayed a lot. As that old saying goes, playing with your friends is a lot more better than playing alone.
Yes, the game is flawed, very flawed in fact, and it is far from perfect as I've previously mentioned. I think a few little things could be added, like to make the game a little bit longer, and maybe a few little tweaks to better suit the gameplay experience could be added. But it makes up for its flaws with its style and presentation. And you cannot deny that the love and dedication that the developers gave this game was absolutely spot on, because it is clear that they are fans of the show. With the amount of references you can find, with the Easter eggs and characters they've included. And, you know, for me personally, it was just a great trip down memory lane.
Now, I know I might be coming across as a little biased, as I am a fan of the show, so most of you are probably thinking that I'm wearing my nostalgic glasses too much. No, I've already listed its flaws, so I know this game isn't really worth its full price tag and would recommend people to wait for a sale to buy it. But as to why I'm praising this game so much is because, well, it was a game I really needed at the time. Not to go into too much details, but I've recently been going through some hard times, so I needed something to pass the time and escape from the world for a couple of hours. When I first booted up this game, it honestly took me back to my childhood, and I started reliving the experience I felt whenever I watched the show. So yeah, I'm very grateful to this game existing, and very happily would recommend it to anyone if you grew up watching the show, or even played those older titles. Power Rangers holds a very special place in my heart, alongside other popular media like Doctor Who, Kingdom Hearts, JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, Monkey Island, Digimon, and many, many more. That's why I can honestly say that I am thankful that this game exists, and if I ever start feeling down again, I'd happily boot this game up by myself or with anyone else who'd want to join in. With anything we find nostalgic, we also find it comforting and safe, and that's what this game is to me. A very comfortable, easy game that I can play whenever I feel like it, especially during the difficult days.
While it is true that the future of the franchise is pretty much up in the air right now, I can at least guarantee that fans, new and old, will be keeping the series alive no matter the format. Be it comic books, video games, fan films, or even just simply sitting down to re-watch the tokusatsu shows from Japan that the series was based around. Which is why I'm just glad that this game exists at all. Because for me, it was something I really needed at the time, and honestly, it was just great playing through it and just seeing the references and just feeling so much nostalgia from it. Recounting old memories from friends who watched the show with me, and so much more. So, yeah, I love this game. And I recommend everyone to, if you get the chance, pick up the game and play it for yourself. It really is worth your time. Until next time, guys. May the power protect you.